Yeah, everything depends on people. It depends on people and their relationships with each other and the knowledge that they have and how well they can share. And if there's an opportunity to um, what would be the word? So socialize, I suppose. If there's an opportunity to socialize, it can bring some kinds of benefits. There were studies done in the 1990s about people who retained their job, people who stayed in companies. And the people who stayed in companies the longest were the people who socialized the most. It was very interesting. Now, it is not clear how important it was to socialize or why it's important to socialize. Whether it's who you socialize with or whether it's the fact that you're seen with people or you develop relationships or whatever. Socializing can bring with it problems as well as solutions. So it's good to know about all the different possibilities, but it is interesting to note that those who are more successful tend to be more involved in social activities within organizations. And that's also my experience as well. As I've noticed that from companies that I've worked with and people that I've worked with that those who are uh, more social tend to be more well liked because people develop an empathy for them or an understanding for their situations. Now, it doesn't always work to people's advantage. People can socialize too much as well, and it can affect the work they do on a daily basis. And you don't want it to have a negative effect on that. You don't want your friend's wedding to be impacting your productivity in your job, right? Those are two completely separate subjects. Yeah. Um, you might as well say, "Oh, I didn't do the work for the company because I was watching my favorite Netflix series or something." The subjects are completely different and they don't um, usually mix well together. Um, it's nice to have things to talk about, but it's nice to have things to talk about. But we also don't want to be talking about people's problems either. Yeah, because that wastes a lot of time. What we want to talk about our solutions. We want to have specific questions, get specific answers, so that we have progress and we can move forward because that's what everything is about. If there are several meetings and there's no movement, what's the point? What's the point if things are not moving forward? There's no point at all. Um, and you can you can argue that the same is true about all relationships, not just in business. That everything needs to grow. Um, what do they say about sharks? If they stop swimming, they die. I don't know if that's true. I mean, that's um, something that maybe that's an urban myth or legend or something. But the idea is still there that um, you need to um, keep moving in one way or another to stay alive. Be like water. There you go. Always be in flow with things because it's in general a good state to be in. So yeah, we have to be careful in our networking, in our relationships, but yeah, we need to understand that everyone's different as well, and some people need more space, some people need less space, um, and we need to understand that. Believe it or not, I usually get annoyed by people who talk too much. um, but um, as long as the transfer of information is relevant, that's what matters. Yeah, um, and that's true in every situation. That's why the course you described seemed to be very good. If you need skills in Excel, and there's a course in Excel, and you're able to get practical information about different ways in which you can complete tasks, then that seems to be a good idea, in my opinion, about how things should be done. Um, it's also usually worth communicating with people about about some level of personal needs. That if somebody's doing something and it's causing an issue for you, it's worth mentioning it, not focusing on it. You know, you don't want to have an argument about something that's completely irrelevant to somebody else. Yeah, you don't want to be like two people on the internet, just arguing about something that is very often completely irrelevant, and no one's going to change anybody else's opinion about anything. But it's worth highlighting perspectives. It's always worth saying to people, there are more options. It's always worth highlighting that it's always worth highlighting there are more opinions and there are more options. End of story. You don't need to say any more, right? Or to accept but not agree is a very practical skill to have. Like, very often I accept people's opinions, but I don't agree with them. And I think that's perfectly okay. I think that's called being a human being. Yeah. I think it's called being a human being to say, I think that's a terrible idea, but I might be wrong, Don't know, I might be wrong. If we're not allowed to have our own opinion, we're not allowed to do anything really then. So yeah, it's perfectly fine to accept things and not agree with them, and because then you can move on. If you don't agree with something and you don't accept it, you're stuck. Yeah, you can't grow as a person. You can't move forward. You're back to being one of those people on the internet just arguing about the same thing again and again and again and again and again and again, and eventually everybody leaves because they're just tired of you. So there we go. Just passing thoughts on that idea.